Hello, 21st century learners. Climb aboard and explore with Teacher Dolore. Together, let's discover different worlds and dimensions as we enter this literary adventure. Today, I will not just be your teacher, I will also be your tour guide. Together, we will travel from lesson to lesson, discover treasures, and experience an extraordinary adventure as we journey through the 21st century literature from the Philippines and the world. Twenty-first century literature is a way to appreciate one's work. It gives an idea to young people to continue to subscribe literature. Through this, we can never forget the work of our ancestors that give us lessons. Last time, we already knew 6 literary genres of the 21st century, namely illustrated novel, DG fiction, graphic novel, manga, doodle fiction, and text talk novel. Today, we will tackle more of the 21st century literary genres. Ready to take off? Grab your modules. Here we go. Time for your tour task number 1. Let's review the 6 literary genres from the 21st century that we discussed last time. Let's see if you can still recall them. Number 1. This is a triple media literature. This combines 3 media: book, movie or video, and internet website. A. Graphic novel. B. Doodle fiction. C. Text talk novels. D. DG fiction. Answer: D. DG fiction. This combines 3 media: book, movie or video, and internet website. To get the full story, students must engage in navigation, reading, and viewing in all 3 forms. Number 2. This is a Japanese word for comics and is considered as an artistic storytelling style. A. Graphic novel. B. Doodle fiction. C. Text talk novel. D. Manga. Answer: D. Manga. It is used in the English-speaking world as a generic term for all comic books and graphic novels originally published in Japan. Number 3. A story through text and illustrated images. A. Graphic novel. B. Doodle fiction. C. Text talk novel. D. Illustrated novel. Answer: D. Illustrated novel. 50% of the narrative is presented without words. 4. A narrative in comic book formats. A. Graphic novel. B. Doodle fiction. C. Text talk novel. D. Illustrated novel. Answer: A. Graphic novel. It is a narrative work in which the story is conveyed to the reader using a comic form. 5. An example of this is Diary of a Wimpy Kid. A. Graphic novel. B. Doodle fiction. C. Text talk novel. D. Illustrated novel. Answer: B. Doodle fiction. This is a literary presentation where the author incorporates doodle writing, drawings, and handwritten graphics in place of the traditional font. Number 6. These are narratives written in blogs, email, IM, and messaging format. A. Graphic novel. B. Doodle fiction. C. Text talk novel. D. Illustrated novel. Answer is C. Text talk novel. Text talk novel are stories told almost entirely in dialogue, simulating social network exchanges. Did you get a perfect score? Bravo! Task unlocked. To complete the 21st century literary genres, we will tackle the remaining genres that we weren't able to discuss last time. We have chick lit or chick literature. This is a fiction genre which addresses issues of modern womanhood, often humorously and light-heartedly. Chick lit typically features a female protagonist whose femininity is heavily thermalizing in the plot. Scarlett Bailey's The Night Before Christmas and Miranda Dickinson's It Started With a Kiss are examples of this. Then we have flash fiction. This is a style of fictional literature of extreme brevity. There is no widely accepted definition of the length and category. It could range from a word to 1,000. Famous for her very short stories, Lydia Davis is a modern master of packing a lot of emotion and meaning into a few words. Her 423-word work, Everyone Cried, is an example of an effective flash fiction story. The introduction to Davis' satire brings in the motif of crying that carry through the remaining 5 paragraphs. She uses the brevity of the piece to emphasize the importance of each emotional word, such as unhappy, irritable, crossly, yell, slam, and frustration. Next is 6-word flash fiction. Well, like other forms of short stories or flash fiction, a 6-word story allows a reader to consume an entire narrative in just a moment's time. If you're trying to get in some short but challenging bursts of writing practice throughout your day, try writing 6-word stories. These bite-sized narratives are fast and fun. The most famous example of a 6-word story is frequently credited to Ernest Hemingway, though there's a little evidence that he actually wrote it. For Sale, Baby Shoes, Never Worn. In 6 simple words, a heartbreaking narrative is told from the few words, but also from what is left out. Then we have creative nonfiction, also known as literary nonfiction or narrative nonfiction. This is a genre of writing that uses literary styles and techniques to create factually accurate narratives. Contrasts with other nonfiction, such as technical writing or journalism, which is also rooted in accurate fact but is not primarily written in service to its craft. As a genre, creative nonfiction is still relatively young and is only beginning to be scrutinized with the same critical analysis given to fiction and poetry. 1,000 Gifts by Anne Voskamp and Wind, Sand, and Stars by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry are examples. Then we have science fiction. This is a genre of speculative fiction dealing with imaginative concepts such as futuristic science and technology, space travel, time travel, faster than light travel, a parallel universe, and extraterrestrial life. Often explores the potential of consequences of scientific and other innovations and has been called a literature of ideas. Examples include Suzanne Collins' Mockingjay and Sarah Maas's Kingdom of Ash. Blog, a weblog, a website containing short articles called posts that are changed regularly. Some blogs are written by one person containing his or her own opinions, interests, and experiences, while others are written by different people. Hyperpoetry includes verse with links to sub-poems or footnotes, poetry generators, poetry with movement or images. Hyperpoetry is usually highly steeped in the visual and sometimes involves parts that are read in varying orders. It can either involve set words, phrases, lines, and etc. that are presented in variable order but sit on the page, much as traditional poetry does. Or it can contain parts of the poem that move and transform. It is usually found online through CD-ROM, and diskette versions exist. The earliest examples date to no later than the mid-1980s. It's a jam-packed literary adventure. Our 21st century literary genres are finally complete. This signals for your tour task. This is a flash quiz. Identify the 21st century literary genres. I will flash the example, then you need to identify what genre it belongs. Here's number 1. A. Doodle fiction. B. Text talk novel. C. Graphic novel. Answer? Right. Doodle fiction. Number 2. A. Doodle fiction. B. Text talk novel. C. Graphic novel. Answer? Text talk novel. Number 3. A. Text talk novel. B. Graphic novel. C. Illustrated novel. Answer: graphic novel. Number 4. A. Chick lit. B. Science fiction. C. Flash fiction. Answer: chick lit. Number 5. A. Chick lit. B. Science fiction. C. Flash fiction. Answer: science fiction. Number 6. A. Chick lit. B. Manga. C. Flash fiction. Answer: flash fiction. Number 7. A. Blog. B. Creative nonfiction. C. 6-word flash fiction. Answer is blog. Number 8. A. Blog. B. Creative nonfiction. C. 6-word flash fiction. Answer is creative nonfiction. Almost there. Number 9. A. Blog. B. DJ fiction. C. Flash fiction. Answer is DJ fiction. How's your score? Oh, legendary! Task unlocked. 21st century learners, do you have any favorite book? Something that you treasure the most, or a book you just recently finished reading? Reading is one of the most important intellectual activities we as humans can ever engage in. It's more than simply decoding a string of symbols on a page, or a wall, or a message board. Reading is a process of comprehension and understanding, and it applies to every aspect of life where we must decode something in order to lead our individual existences. Nevertheless, things have changed since the turn of the century. Have you ever asked yourself, why do I have to read literature in the 21st century? Well, according to one of my favorite authors, John Green, he said that reading is always an act of empathy, always an imagining of what it's like to be somebody else. Reading critically and thoughtfully gives us better tools to explain corporate profits and broken hearts and help us to connect to each other. By knowing what it's like to be the people we read about, we learn more about those around us, those who came before us, and we learn more about ourselves. So 21st century learners, though we now live in a world where technology is advancing, make it a habit to read and know more about our literature. Now it's time for your tour task. Grab a paper and pen. Compare and contrast the 21st century literary genres using a Venn diagram. We have text talk novel, blog, and hyper poetry. I'll give you time to do it. Time's up. Let's see if we have the same answers. Similarity. All make use of web or internet connection. Differences. Text talk novels are stories told almost completely in dialogue, simulating social network exchanges, while a blog is a weblog, a website containing short articles called posts that are changed regularly. It may be written by one person containing their own opinions, interests, and experiences, or written by many different people. And hyperpoetry can either involve a set of words, phrases, lines, etc. that are presented in variable order but sit on the page, much as traditional poetry does, or it can contain parts of the poem that move and or mutate. Bravo for a great work! You can really distinguish the different literary genres now. Amazing! 21st century learners, I hope the literary tour was a fun-filled experience for you. Today, we identified more of the 21st century literary genres. There is more to come for the 21st century literature from the Philippines and the world. Stay tuned for more. On the next episode, we'll discuss about context and the text's meaning. See you next time for more #Explore with Teacher Dolore, only here on DepEd TV.